Have you ever noticed that a game that markets itself as an adventure game doesn't have that much in terms of discovery? Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not talking about content. I've always envied newer players being set loose into this world where they can discover every single island, every single zone, every single story arc and world event. It's something that's been lost on us veterans for the longest time, and of course that's no fault of the developers, we just played the game too much. But I'm talking about the places within Sea of Thieves that have no purpose, places that are yet to be used for any form of quest or tall tale, which have always been an area of intense discussion within the community. The area down at N13. And no, I'm not talking about the underwater area which was used for the tall tale, I'm talking about this area here, which has been in the game since its release. In fact, this tall tale area was in the game on its initial release, but was updated in the anniversary update to help complement the tall tales. But before then, it was another strange place to visit. But this area, within a sort of geode of rock nestled under the water, has not had one single use in the 5 years this game has been live. There are other areas too, like the strange stone statues at Mermaid's Hideaway that seemingly lead to nowhere, or the strange underwater ancient ruins at Cinder Islet that appear to be some sort of portal, or the strange almost gate-like stone slabs at Discovery Ridge that appeared shortly after the release of Shrouded Spoils, but never evolved any further. Unlike other secret locations in Sea of Thieves, such as Wander's Hideout and Wanderer's Refuge, these locations have no commendation attached. There is no holding of hands to locate them, or reason for them to exist, and to this day are some of the most talked about locations within Sea of Thieves. Why is that? Well, for a game that is essentially a sandbox environment, where the players can create their own stories, these areas too are essentially story-driven content, where the player makes up their own stories. And that is something the game has been missing for the longest time. When the game first came out, these locations, including the area now used for Tall Tales, were a central talking point throughout the community. Videos and media started to spawn with people's theories. It gave the game an essence of pioneering by not giving the players answers, but leaving enough dotted around to give the player a sense of direction as to what it might be. The developers noticed this and fed into it, and shortly before the release of the anniversary update, they began to very slowly edit this island. You probably don't recognize it, but this is now known as Reaper's Hideout. This too was an island of mystery up until shortly before the Hungering Deep update, where its shipwreck was given a name and a photo was displayed in its captain's cabin. But slowly, over time, a stone ring appeared, and something as simple as a stone ring sparked yet another tidal wave of speculation throughout the community. In fact, this stone ring was one of the most visited places in Sea of Thieves at one point. Every single update, people came here to see if something had changed, and sure enough, the developers started to change it. This regular update cadence to assets spawned massive discussions within the community, and this time it went viral. News websites started to talk about it, even people who didn't play Sea of Thieves started to take interest, and slowly, over time, and the release of Ships of Fortune update, it became Reaper's Hideout. It was all very cool, but with that, the sense of mystery disappeared. With it being marked on the map and being one of the most central cell locations, it slowly just became another island. But the developers didn't stop there. They noticed the popularity of such things and how it did great things for the game. But somehow, they kind of lost their focus. They were, and still are, too focused on strange areas within the Sea of Thieves to always have a purpose. And although that's very cool, let's not forget that small assets that have little to no meaning are instantly more popular within the community than massive elaborate structures or tools. Here's a fine example. At Sea Dog's Tavern, if you shimmy across the shipwreck across the top of the tower, you'll find an open space, and inside, a dead body. Why is this dead body here? What purpose does it serve? Why create a way to get into this location that only a small percentage of people would know about and stick a dead body in here? Now, tell me if I'm wrong, but that's a lot more mysterious in my opinion than a tall tale that holds your hand from A to B. Now, a lot of these locations are likely assets that were supposed to be used at some point, or probably will be used at some point, but then development went another direction and they were left to gather dust. But the storyline of Sea of Thieves, just like the game itself, has always been best when the player takes control within the sandbox environment. Cave paintings, strange unused locations, footprints in the sand, things that make players think, I wonder what that is, really helps people get engaged into this world, just the same way as a player might think, I wonder what would happen if I harpooned a Meg in a rowboat. It's always boggled my mind that since these very popular unused locations existed, the developers keep adding these massive structures or islands such as the Shores of Gold or the Coral Fortress, or an entire zone such as the Devil's Roar, but then add nothing to these areas for the pioneer in us all. The default world has so many secrets and undelivered answers that still to this day have the community speculating about. They saw how much people loved it and how well it did for the game's popularity, but then as they added more and more stuff, it's like they just didn't bother anymore. All these amazing areas to explore, but with no real reason to actually explore them, except for commendations. And believe me, I've explored them, every single pixel, and haven't found anything that makes me think, what's that? Tall tales are great for telling the story, but nothing gives you that sense of discovery like an unused or undiscovered location that serves no purpose other than to make the community talk about it, come together, and come up with theories. This, in essence, is what Sea of Thieves is all about. It's a cooking pot of tools where the player and communities come up with their own ways to play or come up with their own theories on stories. And where the latter is concerned, I feel like Sea of Thieves has really lost its direction with this. I don't think the developers understand that something as simple as a footprint in the sand can spawn a tsunami of hype within the community. Sailor's Bounty, new palm tree, right there. Why is this suddenly here? And why does it have high definition textures and appears to almost have an aura surrounding it? This is daft, right? A palm tree? So what? Here's the thing though, next time you go to Sailor's Bounty, you'll go looking for it, I guarantee it. And if 500 of you go looking for this palm tree after watching this video, that'll be 239 more people that have started the Shroudbreaker Tall Tale in the last 28 days. Case and point. I'm out!